I'm Tim Owens, the longtime producer of jazz at National Public Radio and creator of NPR's Peabody Award-winning Jazz Profiles, a radio documentary series on the people, places, and things in jazz. The Jazz Profiles shows, nearly 200 of them, are part of the Tim Owens Jazz and Broadcast Collection at the University of North Texas Music Library. In a partnership with the 32 Bar Blues Foundation, we picked a handful of noteworthy shows to share with you. With my gratitude to the many producers who helped make the series possible, and my special thanks to the series host Nancy Wilson, we hope you'll enjoy this presentation of Jazz Profiles.
The unmistakable sound of Kansas City swing. One artist composed, arranged, and played piano on that tune, and later went on to play this. And this is the music of that same artist.
I am Mary Lou Williams.
Mary Lou used to say she was the only living jazz artist who played through all the eras in the history of jazz. And she did.
This is somebody who lived from 1910 to 1980. That means every major event in jazz, every transition, every metamorphosis took place within her lifetime. And what is amazing to me is that she was able to adjust and adopt without losing her identity to each of these styles.
Mary Lou Williams was not only present for nearly every development in jazz music, she was influential to most of them. In her compositions, arrangements, piano playing, and teaching, she was constantly advancing the music. Duke Ellington, with great admiration, called Mary Lou perpetually contemporary. In any setting, big band swing arrangements or small group bebop tunes, her music was always adventurous, her piano playing always swinging. Mary Lou Williams spent her 71 years open to every new musical twist and willing to share it with other jazz musicians.
She was highly respected. I mean, her musical talents, they knew that she knew, so guys didn't go through this men thing with her because she was already ahead of us. So we listened. I mean, there was no doubt that she was way ahead. She was one of our early women superstars.
In Kansas City, there's a pretty gal named Mary Lou, and she plays the piano in a manner that is all too new. Here of late, she's playing with a band. Let me tell you of this baby and the baby grand. When you hear a hot jumbo, who's the power behind the most? It's the lady who swings the band.
She really liked to be on the cutting edge of things, and she liked to be doing something before anybody else was, or at least as close as she could get.
These are innovators. These are people like Picasso, people like Michelangelo, great artists who changed the face of art for the better, for the whole world to enjoy for all time to come.
I'm Nancy Wilson. On this Jazz Profiles, the music of Mary Lou Williams.
It's the lady who swings the band.
Lou Williams made her name as a composer, an arranger, and a teacher. But at the root of her achievements was her legendary skill at the piano. She started from her mother's lap, barely reaching the keys, in Atlanta, where she was born in 1910. As a youngster growing up in Pittsburgh, Mary Lou was well known as the little piano girl of East Liberty, playing gigs from the time she was 6 into her teens. She entertained Pittsburgh's wealthy elite at parties and was in demand with the big-name bands passing through town. Here's Mary Lou Williams in a 1973 interview with writer John S. Wilson.
When Earl Hines had his little band and was playing for afternoon things in Pittsburgh, the boys after the session would come and get me. And anything, if I was playing wrong, they showed me, I was just like one of the boys.
Mary Lou Williams held a certain distinction as a child prodigy, but there were many female pianists in the early days of jazz. What was unusual, Mary Lou said, was to see a woman playing in a group of all male musicians. And that was how she spent most of her life, right from the beginning. Mary Lou was still in school when she hit the road with John Williams and the Syncopators, fronting a popular vaudeville act, Seymour and Jeanette, on both the black and white circuits. A 16-year-old Mary Lou Williams at the piano with her composition, Midnight Stomp, her first time on record. Mary Lou married John Williams, and the Syncopators set up in Memphis for a while. But Kansas City called, and John took a saxophone chair with Terrence Holder's band, later to become Andy Kirk's 12 Clouds of Joy. Mary Lou followed, and before she had even earned a spot as Andy Kirk's regular pianist, her prowess at the keyboard found a home in Kansas City. Clean Pickin', Mary Lou Williams leading a trio in 1936. Mary Lou was a fixture on the Kansas City after-hours scene. After the paying gig was over, musicians rushed to small clubs like Piney Brown's for jam sessions. It was here she encountered such legendary horn players as Lester Young, Coleman Hawkins, and Ben Webster, who became a lifelong collaborator and soulmate. The film Kansas City depicts this era in jazz, and pianist Jerry Allen played the role of Mary Lou Williams.
She said, "It was such a beautiful thing to be in Kansas City. All the musicians were so wonderful, and it was during the Depression. People didn't have much money, and we would go out. Everybody would share, stay out late and jam. It was such a beautiful era. I think Kansas City is the most important era in music."
Surely there was a certain camaraderie, but the great Count Basie once said of Mary Lou at the piano, "I always used to get out of her way. Anytime she was in the neighborhood, I used to find myself another little territory because Mary Lou was tearing everybody up." And it wasn't long before Mary Lou Williams became the creative center of one of the hottest bands in Kansas City, Andy Kirk's 12 Clouds of Joy.
She wrote arrangements, she wrote the composition, she was one of the chief soloists.
Jazz band leader and educator, David Baker.
Particularly, given those years between 1929 and 1942 that she was in the band, that was almost without precedent. First of all, to have a female in the band who was not a singer, And secondly, for that female then to have virtually all the decisions, musical decisions, in her hands. And Mary Lou Williams had the enviable position of being the person who shaped virtually the entire history of a band.
From blues to bluegrass, jazz to country, R&B to rock and roll, we're moved by the proud sound of American music. Welcome to 32 Bar Blues, a fresh groove in the men's clothing world, a place where true originality, craft, and style are valued like the art forms we celebrate. Never curated or private labeled, we design and make the majority of our styles in-house. Cool clothes with enough funk or personality to make you smile, but easy to wear for most any venue. And like our name implies, 32 Bar Blues was born with a heart for the arts. Since our first collection in 2012, we featured more than 100 musicians, writers, and photographers on our pages, giving all profits from the sale of their work directly to them. We also promote a handful of nonprofit arts organizations that deserve extra support. To check out the 32 Bar Blues collection and learn more about our commitment to the arts, visit 32barblues.com.
Mary Lou developed her distinctive piano style during the golden age of jazz pianist. Earl Hines made a deep impression on her, as did a little-known but powerful female pianist and bandleader named Lovey Austin. Mary Lou even played for Jelly Roll Morton as a teenager. But her dominance in Kansas City depended on absorbing the influence of stride pianists like James P. Johnson, and especially Fats Waller. Pianist Jerry Allen.
She's coming from a time when the piano was really very left-hand oriented, and the piano player would hold up everything, would really hold things together with that hand.
She said she stretched the web of her left hand between the finger and thumb so that she could reach, even as a little girl, to tenths in the left hand.
Father Peter O'Brien, Mary Lou's personal manager in her later years.
She said if you didn't have a strong left hand, you weren't considered very much in Kansas City at all as a pianist. And that strong stride, one note way down, then a chord, and back and forth, and the piano player really drove the bands.
As jazz styles evolved, Mary Lou embraced them, but that strong left hand never left her sound. Pianist Marion McPartland shared an engagement with Mary Lou in the late 1950s and devoted an entire album to her music.
She's quite a percussive player, a strong player. She would be playing, for instance, a medium tempo tune. She would be playing the blues and playing a long line in her right hand and sort of stabbing chords in the left hand. It's as if the right hand would bounce off what she played in her left hand.
Mary Lou Williams once said about her piano playing, "I play like a man. That's why I got my reputation. Other women may be playing more, but they don't have that mannish thing. That's something developed by me being around men."
I think that's really cool. I like that phrase.
Pianist Jerry Allen.
She says, other women may be playing more, but they don't have that mannish thing. I love that phrase. Yeah, I know what she's saying. She's talking about weight. There's a certain kind of weight and touch. She's talking about a touch thing. She certainly, during that Kansas City time, she earned her own respect.
But Mary Lou was no ordinary boogie-woogie piano player. There was something different about her sound. Musicians in Kansas City used to gather around the piano and ask her to play some of that zombie music.
Nightlife shows she's only a 19-year-old woman, practically say young girl in a way.
Father Peter O'Brien.
The command is absolute. It's articulate. It's specific. It's not an imitation of Fats Waller or James P. Johnson or anybody else. She already has an individual voice, clear as a bell.
Pianist Hilton Ruiz studied with Mary Lou Williams.
Nightlife, that's a beautiful composition. She moved the music. She moved the music forward with her writing. If you listen to it, it's a stride piece, but it has these wonderful, mysterious chords. And that was a little different than what the other stride pianists were doing at that time.
Nightlife from 1930. I'm Nancy Wilson, and you're listening to NPR's Jazz Profiles with the music of Mary Lou Williams.
Born from the 32 Bar Blues clothing brand, the nonprofit 32 Bar Blues Foundation was established in 2020 to promote American music, literature, photography, and the artists that create within these genres. Jazz, blues, and roots music are of particular focus, all uniquely American art forms that should be nurtured and advanced for the benefit of future generations. Toward these goals, 32 Bar Blues Foundation seeks out and partners with nonprofit arts organizations that provide education, training, opportunity, support, and exposure. Young and emerging artists, as well as established and lesser-known greats, are of equal focus. Through direct 32 Bar Blues corporate support and donations, customer donations, and all profits received from special clothing items and other partner products in the 32 Bar Blues collection, seasonal contributions go directly to the artists and organizations noted in the Arts section of the 32 Bar Blues website. To date, 32 Bar Blues Foundation has contributed more than $200,000 to its nonprofit partners and provided millions of full-page impressions in the 32 Bar Blues catalog. For more information about 32 Bar Blues and its foundation, visit 32barblues.com and click The Arts or go to 32barbluesfoundation.org.
Jazz educator David Baker.
It's important that one recognize her unusual ear, her ability to hear combinations of instruments that are not normally thought to be compatible. The tendency was very often to write these sections and pit them one against the other, brass against reeds, trombones against trumpets, trumpets against saxophones. And Mary Lou Williams, from the very beginning, even with those early pieces, was already beginning to think about ways of combining portions of one section with portions of another section to come up with a new sound, a new entity, if you will. Well, I think more than anything else with Mary Lou Williams, and this can be said in a way for Ellington too, is her unbelievable sense of timbral differences. But her timbral sense was so acute that it almost makes it impossible not to identify her as the arranger or composer of a piece when you hear it being played. For instance, a piece that she wrote called Walkin' and Swingin' in 1936 has all of those trademarks that we talk about.
Mary Lou Williams in 1973.
You know, I discovered chords, and Andy used to say to me, "You can't do that. It's against the rules of writing music." I said, "But I hear a sixth in this chord." And he says, "But you can't do it." I said, "Well, I'm going to do it." And I did the arrangement of, before I did Walkin', trumpet and 3 saxophones. We only had 3 saxophones and 1 trumpet and trombone or something like that. And so what I did, I put a trumpet in the hat and the 3 saxophones, played 4-part harmony. And he kept telling me it was against the rules of a chord. During that era, I guess it was, but I was hearing, I still find these things, you know, on the piano and stuff. I said, it sounds good here.
Walkin' and Swingin', Andy Kirk's 12 Clouds of Joy with Mary Lou Williams, composer, arranger, and pianist in 1936. Mary Lou's success with the band stirred interest for her compositions and arrangements from other big bands, including Benny Goodman and later Duke Ellington. It was Jimmy Lunsford's band that had a hit with her number, What's Your Story, Morning Glory. Father Peter O'Brien, Mary Lou's personal manager.
She really was a harmonist. Voicings, paramount. That's the first thing when I really started to listen to her play. I said, boy, the voicings, they were dense chords and rich in how she placed them. She's not primarily a melodist, not really. I think maybe What's Your Story, Morning Glory. I can't think of a lot of tunes of hers, 300 tunes, let's say, where you have melody being paramount. But she was primarily interested in harmony, I think.
She was harmonically advanced for any time.
David Baker.
She was hearing all these altered chords and what have you, and perhaps what allowed her to grow was that she was in the position to make those kinds of choices because she was, in fact, the architect of the band. And first of all, to have a tenure as long as she did from 1929 to 1942, that's unheard of, except maybe in Ellington with, people like Johnny Hodges and Harry Carney. But there's, I believe, a direct connection, a direct link between the length of her tenure and the kind of freedom she had to make musical choices and the fact that she ended up being such a visionary.
Andy Kirk's band was Mary Lou Williams' proving ground, but she maintained her musical vision and harmonic experimentation into the 1940s, as the big bands waned and small groups came of age. Mary Lou kept one hand in the tradition and the other pushing for a new sound, that zombie music. Mary Lou Williams' sextet arrangement of Lullaby of the Leaves from 1944. Father Peter O'Brien.
I think she was wide open, constantly evolving herself. Even within Boogie Woogie, you could take, in 1946, Waltz Boogie. This is a Boogie Woogie in 3/4 time, but it's highly subtle. The chords are not Boogie Woogie chords.
Pianist Marion McPartlin.
Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, when she did that, that was like a really avant-garde thing. Nobody had done that. That was something pretty unusual.
Waltz Boogie, Mary Lou Williams at the piano with June Rotenberg bass and Bridget O'Flynn drums. Pianist, Hilton Ruiz.
She never did the same thing twice. She always was going to do something different. She always wanted to go to the place that nobody else would go to, but the prettiest place.
In 1945, Mary Lou Williams wrote and recorded something very different, the Zodiac Suite. It was an extended piece, a series of short portraits of people she admired for each sign of the zodiac. It was unconventional in its musical form, outside of the traditional jazz structures, and in its varied use of the rhythm section. Father Peter O'Brien.
She had a radio show in 1945 on WNEW in New York, the Mary Lou Williams Piano Workshop. And weekly she did one piece of the Zodiac Suite, 12 little sections, perfect little thing. Sometimes piano solo, sometimes with bass and drums.
Mary Lou Williams from a 1973 interview.
Like the Zodiac Suite, when I did that, I wrote 2 of them and I couldn't write anymore. And the rest of the suite, I composed them while I was playing. See, and I'm at my best composing that way. Mm-hmm.
Pianist Jerry Allen.
She had a real composer's way of playing. You know, composition would come spontaneously. Like maybe they were ideas that came from her improvising, and then she took them and developed them, you know, in the suite.
Mary Lou Williams piano with Al Lucas bass, Aries from the Zodiac Suite, Mary Lou's portrait of Billie Holiday, and her old friend, tenor saxophonist Ben Webster. The Zodiac Suite was a departure for jazz music in the mid-40s and far away from Mary Lou's swing charts of the Andy Kirk era. She had reinvented herself, and as we'll soon hear, she became central to the newly developing jazz style. bebop. I'm Nancy Wilson, and you're listening to Jazz Profiles, the music of Mary Lou Williams from NPR, National Public Radio.
From blues to bluegrass, jazz to country, R&B to rock and roll, we're moved by the proud sound of American music. Welcome to 32 Bar Blues, a fresh groove in the men's clothing world, a place where true originality, craft, and style are valued like the art forms we celebrate. Never curated or private labeled, we design and make the majority of our styles in-house. Cool clothes with enough funk or personality to make you smile, but easy to wear for most any venue. And like our name implies, 32 Bar Blues was born with a heart for the arts. Since our first collection in 2012, we featured more than 100 musicians, writers, and photographers on our pages, giving all profits from the sale of their work directly to them. We also promote a handful of nonprofit arts organizations that deserve extra support. To check out the 32 Bar Blues collection and learn more about our commitment to the arts, visit 32barblues.com.
Jamming or playing there every night because there was no work for them on 52nd Street. Nobody understood what they were playing because during that era, everybody was just thirsting to play, you know. You just had to play someplace.
Bop-era musicians like Thelonious Monk, Bud Powell, and close friend Dizzy Gillespie drank in Mary Lou's modern sounds, even in her unorthodox approach to jazz standards.
Mary did Lady Be Good with a quintet that included Coleman Hawkins in 1944. Doesn't sound like Lady Be Good.
Mary Lou's interpretation of George Gershwin's "Oh Lady Be Good" must have impressed the young Thelonious Monk. About 10 years later, he wrote Hackensack. Mary Lou Williams' greatest role in the development of bebop was as a mentor, for some almost a patron saint. But she was incorporating the new sounds in her own music too, and by doing so, added to the bebop repertoire. David Baker.
It really epitomizes what was the good stuff about bebop, and I'm thinking now of the piece called In the Land of Oobla-Dee.
In the land of Oobla-Dee, in the land of Oobla-Dee, I met a beautiful princess in the land of Oobla-Dee. Oobla-Dee. She smiled and said, Oobudelia, meaning you appeal to me. I said, Oobudelia la bindu with pride. Oobudelia la bindu, let's take a ride in the land of Oobla-Dee, Oobla-Dee.
And the very fact that she wrote something as startlingly original and outside of the outside of what we would have expected, and this behind a vocal yet.
Mary Lou Williams recorded what she called her bop fairy tale with a small ensemble and singer Kenny Haygood in 1949. But it was bebop's frontman, Dizzy Gillespie, who popularized the piece that same year with his big band, and vocalist Joe Carroll.
Now we say oodilly-la, blee-da-blee-oo, meaning I will always be in love with you. It happened in blah-dee, ooh, blah-dee.
I'm Nancy Wilson with the music of Mary Lou Williams on NPR's Jazz Profiles. The exciting promise of bebop went unfulfilled for many jazz performers in the 1950s. Mary Lou Williams continued to apply her modern approach in small group settings around New York. But she was increasingly dissatisfied with the music business there and found Europe more welcoming. For a few years, mostly in England and France, she led trios and quartets. It was a time of self-exploration. And not long after Mary Lou returned to New York, she reassessed her role in life and stopped playing piano.
Well, I didn't really stop on my own. I just, something carried me away. I began praying, and I never thought about playing anymore.
There's a real collapse around 1954-55. I think it's just cumulative her whole life. She began to search another way. She was always a searcher.
Father Peter O'Brien. Mary Lou devoted her time to charitable activities, helping out-of-work musicians, and converted to Catholicism. Father Anthony Woods was the first priest to play a pivotal role in Mary Lou's life, encouraging her to help others through her greatest gift, music.
And then a gradual period of reconstruction. You can hear the result of that period between 1955 and 1963 in the album that she produced herself for her own recording company, Mary Records, the album which presented Black Christ of the Andes. The feeling is more gentle. It's got an area quality.
Mary Lou Williams, leading a trio in 1963 with Percy Heath, bass, and Tim Kennedy, drums. The release of the album Black Christ of the Andes was important for another reason. For the first time, Mary Lou matched her musical vision with her newfound religious interest and created 4 jazz works with spiritual themes. Her music attracted the attention of another young priest, Father Peter O'Brien. As her personal manager, he supported her move toward what was her most acclaimed religious composition, Mary Lou's Mass. It was, in fact, her third Mass, written in 1970 as Music for Peace. But after Alvin Ailey choreographed it in 1971, it was recast with his title. In Mary Lou's Mass, Mary Lou Williams brought the vocabulary of jazz to elements of rhythm and blues, spirituals, and gospel music, all in a church setting. Pianist Hilton Ruiz.
I went to her masses that she had at St. Patrick's Cathedral. She wrote music for Catholic Mass, and it was for all people to come and listen to, of all denominations. It was all jazz, the whole Mass. It was swinging, gospel, with all kind of beautiful ballads and everything for each part, for the offering, for the, all the different parts of the Mass.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Mary Lou Williams' spirituality was not disconnected from herself.
Father Peter O'Brien.
And it was not disconnected from how she created all along. The reason she evolved musically was that she was a spiritual person, meaning open, that's all. She's wide open to what's going on.
Mary Lou had always welcomed modern approaches to jazz music, so her re-emergence on record in the mid-60s and 70s unveiled something not totally unexpected: communion with the avant-garde, and one of its leading exponents, pianist Cecil Taylor.
Along comes Cecil. Every night at the cookery, he comes in, sits down, and stares at her. This happened every night. He just loved it. Now, he said around that period, Mary Lou Williams, the only musician in New York doing anything.
The admiration between Mary Lou Williams and Cecil Taylor was mutual, enough to inspire a special two-piano concert at Carnegie Hall in 1977, which they entitled Embraced. It explored, they said, the history of jazz with love and challenged their improvisational styles. The two pianists, Mary Lou heard here on the right and Cecil Taylor on the left, were joined on some tunes by a rhythm section, Mickey Roker on drums and Bob Crenshaw bass.
I knew that it was going to be a lot looser than what we would ordinarily do with Mary Lou, because Cecil plays a lot different and I like a structure, so she helped me kind of loosen up and not have to be as structured. And with the situation that we did in that concert, it was very, very loose.
Mary Lou's pairing with Cecil Taylor was a daring experiment that highlighted her versatility. She was flexible enough to adapt to nearly any musical situation, even conquer it. But the fundamentals of the jazz tradition were always vital to Mary Lou Williams. And when she played, there was one element of that tradition you could always count on.
Great rhythm. She could swing. I mean, she just had such a great feeling when we got churning. You'd want to scream. It just felt so good.
Bassist Bob Crenshaw and pianist Marion McPartland.
I remember talking about her with Billy Taylor. We both agreed that no matter who was playing with her, she could swing harder than anybody. I mean, she really could make a thing swing just by her own efforts. It's incredible. I mean, you can't really teach that. It's like something that's inbred, or that's in you. And I think that's one of the things I really admired about her.
Somebody said that jazz is the sound of surprise. And who better epitomizes that throughout her career than Mary Lou Williams? Because from the very beginning, you really couldn't predict where Mary Lou was going. She was able always to turn left, and if I were to say that there was one thing throughout her music that was personified, it was this surprise element, her ability to always posit something in each piece that would make you go, whoa, what was that?
Music was beautiful. Her themes, her voicings were wonderful. I mean, they were wonderful. She could play things to make you almost want to cry. They were just so gorgeous.
And it's fresh and sounding very advanced and modern right now.
In a career that spanned over a half-century, Mary Lou Williams not only created music full of surprise and everlasting beauty, she also earned and maintained something many women in jazz found elusive: unwavering respect at the highest levels. The breadth of her achievements as a composer, arranger, band leader, and a thoroughly inventive pianist are still phenomenal and still inspirational. She is simply one of our greatest jazz artists.
And women really had a rough time in jazz at that time. And even today, those lines have not been broken the way they should be. You know, how often do you see the woman in the big band or the woman in the small group? And Mary Lou Williams, and she never made an issue of this. She always just simply said, look, I live for music and that's what I'm about. And I believed that I could make it, and she, of course, did.
And I think that it's kind of a testament in a way, a place of inspiration for myself and musicians of my generation, too, to push the boundaries and find your own voice and take those risks.
Our tribute to the music of Mary Lou Williams was written and produced by Margaret Howze. Post-production engineers, Preston Brown, Andy Rosenberg, Michael Schweppe, Terry Knight, and Chuck Thompson. We had engineering assistance from David Gorin, Gary Sanders, Gary Liu, Danny Lawrence, and John Shelton. We'd also like to thank NPR member stations WBGO-FM in Newark, WFIU-FM in Bloomington, the NPR New York and Los Angeles bureaus, the Institute of Jazz Studies at Rutgers University, and the Mary Lou Williams Foundation. Jazz Profiles is produced by Tim Owens, assistant producer Madeline Smith. The executive producers are Mary Beth Kirshner and Murray Horwitz.